after this hell of a week that we have just been through. On Friday, of course, it was Paris. The death toll in Paris has now risen from 129 to 130. That was Friday. On Tuesday, there was another suicide bombing attack, this one on a crowded marketplace in a Nigerian city called Yola. That attack on Tuesday in Nigeria killed at least 34 people in that marketplace. Then the following day, on Wednesday, it was another suicide attack. This time it was a pair of suicide bombers who blew themselves up again in Nigeria. This time it was at a market for cell phones and other small electronics. That double suicide bombing was in a northern Nigerian city called Kano. And you will know instantly which group is credited with that attack when I tell you that not only were both the two suicide bombers in that attack thought to be female, but one of them is thought to have been 11 years old. And so it will not come as a surprise to you when I tell you that both that double suicide bombing in Kano, Nigeria, and the single suicide bombing the previous day, also in Nigeria, which together, those two attacks took nearly 50 lives. These attacks are both attributed to the Nigerian terrorist group Boko Haram. And just as we were getting news of that second Nigerian suicide bombing, the double bombing in the cell phone market involving what appears to have been an 11-year-old girl suicide bomber, just as we were getting news of that, this new annual report was released from the Global Terrorism Index. So it was this interesting moment this week, right? The Western world reeling from the attacks on Paris. And comparatively speaking, there was roughly zero attention paid to those two suicide bombings, which killed all of those dozens of civilians in Nigeria. It was this interesting moment when the Global Terrorism Index came out this week of all weeks, when it named as the single deadliest terrorist group in the world, not ISIS, but Boko Haram. Boko Haram this year has killed more civilians than the Taliban, more civilians than Al-Qaeda, more civilians than ISIS. Boko Haram has more blood on its hands as a terrorist group than any other terrorist group in the world this year. And as long as we're understanding the various allegiances here, it should be noted that the leaders of Boko Haram in Nigeria, they did pledge allegiance a few months ago to ISIS. Boko Haram now technically considers itself to be an African province of the Islamic State. But according to the Global Terrorism Index, even if you just take them on their own, even if you just take Boko Haram alone, they're even more deadly than all the rest of ISIS. They are the deadliest terrorist group in the world now.